Joining me to talk about this, how the tourism sector can first survive and then revive, is Nakul Anand, veteran hotelier, Executive Director at ITC Limited and the Chairman of Faith, which is an industry body. Under its aegis, it has all kinds of travel, tourism and hospitality associations under it. Mr. Anand, always a pleasure talking to you. Thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule to join us live right here on ET Now. Like I said, when you talk about travel and tourism, India is not alone. It's a ticking time bomb in India as well as overseas. Having said that, the government has been holding, the Prime Minister himself has been holding a whole host of video conferences to talk about survival. This is a sector that directly and indirectly employs nearly 6 crore people. Can I begin by asking you, have you been part of any of the dialogues with the Prime Minister, with the government? Are they even looking at the tourism sector to make sure that it doesn't completely die out?
Thanks, Tantara. Always a pleasure to be here. Yes, first I must begin by thanking the government. I think that there has been a lot of support and cooperation. The first thing that Faith did together was put together, assess what the damage could be and put a letter to the Prime Minister. We've had the entire association, we've had interactions with the Tourism Ministry. The Tourism Secretary himself has been in touch with us. Yesterday we had Travel Agent Association, myself with the Secretary of Civil Aviation. Each one of them are considering and looking at what best they can do for us. Obviously, in the order of priority, I think that all of this happened so suddenly, so they've got to sequence it out. But we are very, very positive. Some of our requests have been met, and I know by the manner in which we get calls late night, etc., from the ministries that everybody's working to see what best they can do.
So can you tell us, Mr. Anand, what's at stake? We're talking about virtual collapse of travel and tourism. Even when the lockdown lifts in India, or even let's say in the United States or Australia, I think people are anyway going to be very afraid to travel. So having said that, it's, travel and tourism, hospitality, aviation, one of the largest employers. What's at stake? You said you've done an assessment of that. Share that with us.
Firstly, Nanta, we are the industry which is absolutely in the red zone. We are the first to decline and the longest it takes us to come back. So we are like a flattened U, I would say more like an L, whereas the rest of the economy is always recovered as a V. If you were to look at the geometry of shock, we are always going to be a flattened U or an L. The impact both globally, even the World Tourism Organization, and since this has really been a global phenomenon, has estimated that we would sort of come down from last year of 1.4 billion to roughly 1.02 billion tourists, which is back to 2012 level, which has never happened, and it's unprecedented, absolutely. To give you some data, even in the SARS, the drop in tourism in that year was 0.4%, not drop, there was an increase. In 2001, when there was a 9/11 and people were scared of traveling, there was just 0.1. Even in the subprime crisis, which affected business travel, just about everything, it was -4. Today, the World Tourism Organization from Madrid themselves are saying that the impact would be anything between 30 or 40% as far as the industry is concerned. If I was to put this in numbers, you rightly said that India's inbound is 28 billion. We have 2 lakh crores worth of domestic tourism, etc. But if I was to put it very simply, and here when I talk of travel and tourism, various data comes, some is only tourism, some is hospitality and tourism, but I'm taking the entire travel and tourism. Remember, travel and tourism has the highest multiplier effect. It has a multiplier effect of 3. So if 1 rupee is produced, it multiplies into 3. The reverse also happens, that when you begin to lose, you begin to lose at a negative rate. Very roughly speaking, according to WTTC, which is the World Travel and Tourism Council, India travel and tourism accounts for 9.2% of GDP. Let me just round it up to 10 for ease of calculation. We are talking of an Indian GDP of 2.75 trillion. If we take 10% of that, that's 275 billion. Now, if you were to look at the 25 to 30%, whereas everybody's saying 40, I'm being conservative and optimist that I have a 30% decline. We are talking of something like 5 lakh crores is at stake for this industry.
5 lakh crore rupees at stake for tourism. Nakul, Anand, can I now that we know what's at risk, You've talked about it, with respect to GDP, the percentage of GDP, the kind of people the number of people that could go into unemployment. It's going to have a domino impact on the economy. Having said that, this is a sector, like I was talking about, will take a very long time to revive, simply because people are not going to be comfortable to travel. We don't know what's going to happen in corporate India to people's disposable incomes. Simultaneously, businesses have gotten used to people working from home. They will think twice perhaps before putting employees on a flight, doing conferences. What's the way out?
I think, again, you rightly said that we break it up into two. There's first survival and then revival. We can only revive if we survive, right? So in the survival part, I think across the industry today, the most important part is that cash flows have just absolutely gone up. So I think first is how can we sort of get working capital back in the hands of this industry. We are not asking the government as a request. We've not asked the government to roll out anything, but what we've asked them is that if term loans and payments could be deferred, and in some cases could the interest be reduced, and if statutory obligations across the center, across the state, across the municipality, the excise duty, the GST, etc., if all this could be deferred and we could make deferred payment on all these. Also, if some help can be given for industries to meet the daily needs of salaries, etc., Narega has been given some form that can also come to this industry to at least protect the jobs of those that are at risk. The industry is trying its best very hard, and I have most of the people we are in touch with trying to minimize the impact of loss of jobs to keep the livelihood of people going.
So can you give us a sense of what's happening if hotels are shut, restaurants are shut, airlines are grounded? I know there is a circular by the Home Ministry which talks about not cutting wages. A lot of states have adopted that circular. Some of them have even amended their Disaster Management Act at the state level. But Mr. Anand, once again, this is not sustainable. We can't keep expecting companies, travel agencies, hotels, restaurants, those in the business of travel, organizing conferences, to keep footing the bill. So I come back to that because, disposable income is going to take a hit. Luxury is going to take a hit. So, is it just going to be sops from the government which can literally save this sector?
Not really, Nantara. This is only for us to bide by the crisis that is right now and to help us sort of get some working capital and for us to survive and get into the revival mode. Coming back, I think there are lots of opportunities that I think that you rightly pointed out, that people are going to travel less. People are getting used to. Some people would say it's not bad if I, instead of 4 trips, I take two trips and I work on Zoom just as you and I are talking, etc. All that is very possible that it could happen. But I think the biggest opportunity that India has, and we made some requests to the government on that if India has about 11 million of inbound, we have 22 million of outbound. A lot of this is MICE conferences, destination weddings. Can somehow the government, for some tax incentive, etc., look at this as low-hanging fruit and see, at best, conferences will take place with dealers and so forth, and pharmaceuticals, medical, doctors, etc. These are going to start very soon, if you ask me. They would not go abroad, absolutely. Therefore, we need to contain them in India, or at least, sort of give incentives to contain them in India. This 22 million, what percentage of this can we keep? This could very quickly bridge the gap between what we lose and what we have lost and how we can gain back. And we could come back running, absolutely, if this was to happen. But it's important that for this survival, for this revival mode, we put into effect policies now. We made a request, Faith made a request the other day, which the Secretary of Tourism very kindly agreed, that can we have an emergency task force of the private and the public sector working together to see what all can we do to revive business the moment it comes back. Can there be a new start to tourism in India? There will be new opportunities. There will be a whole lot of different form of travel that will take place. My personal guess is that long-haul travel is going to take time. If you were to look at international travel, which will come post the sort of domestic travel, it would come from short-haul travel. It's a known fact that any country that has crossed 25 to 30 million in their inbound tourism, a bulk of this comes from regions. I would believe that China has 90 million inside. Can we track? And of it, 65, 70 million come to from the region? Can we begin to track what these regions are? Can we begin to tap new source markets, get together new marketing plans? Can we go together and do road shows there, etc.? What is the product we are going to offer? I think there are some great offers that are coming by people post 9/11. Okay, let me tell you, value shift in post 9/11. We noticed for the first time the number of family holidays that happen. You suddenly have 30 rooms of an Anand family, for instance, coming and saying, what, 50th birthday, 75th birthday, 25th anniversary, etc. It was family bonding, fostering with the family, because people realized how vulnerable we were. Similarly, there would be a whole lot of new games. I think that India has the opportunity. There's yoga, there's Ayurveda, there's Buddhism. There's so much that India has to offer. We've just got to put our heads together and see which are the markets we need to target after the domestic segment, and what is the product offer that the new opportunities are going to throw up post this, and how best can we be the first off the road to sort of grab this opportunity.
Mr. Anand, I'm going to make this my final question to you, because we are also running out of time. You've talked about Ayurveda, you talked about how we need to market better. But for all of that to take place, India also needs to be priced competitively against other destinations. We need to ensure Incredible India stays incredible. But that's still some time away. For now, what would you say are the 3 or 4 things that Prime Minister Narendra Modi needs to take note of and ensure it is indeed implemented, without which the tourism sector can fail? You're talking about a livelihood for more than 5 crore people. You yourself said it's a tourism activity that can earn, with domestic, international, nearly $28 billion. There's a lot that's at stake.
Yeah. So the 3 things I would say would be, point number 1 would be, how can working capital come back in the hands of people in this industry? And we've discussed various methods, etc. Secondly, in the revival mode, I think we need to have a very firm plan, and this is more private sector than the government, as how to exit from this lockdown. Priority, I can break that up in a way, is a separate task force to see what we can do for domestic tourism, and a separate task force to see what can we do for the new values that are coming, and the new segments and the new countries that are going to emerge for international tourism, and how can Indian tourism reinvent itself.
Mr. Anand, it's always a pleasure talking to you. I'm sure those in the corridors of power are regularly in touch with you and leaning on you for expertise, just to make sure that this massive sector doesn't come to a virtual collapse, leading to millions of job losses. You've got a lot on your shoulder. Do you want to tell us what you perhaps tell those that work for you, that work in tourism? Any pearls of wisdom, anything to boost their morale?
No, as I said that there's going to be a new reality. We need to reimagine our offer, and we're going to bounce back.
We're going to survive, then revive, and we're going to bounce back. Let's make sure India does stay incredible when it comes to inbound travel. That's, of course, very far away. But those are some of the suggestions that you just heard from Nakul Anand himself, that